The wool coat smelled like cedar and something expensive she couldn't name. Bria pressed her face deeper into it, trying to muffle the sound coming out of her throat. Her hand shook so hard, the phone nearly slipped from her grip. The photo on the screen didn't change no matter how many times she blinked. Kai, rope around his wrists, a hand gripping his jaw like he was nothing. The closet door swung open. Light flooded in from River Hawthorne's office, cutting through the dark between hanging suits. Bria's breath caught. She looked up through wet lashes and saw him freeze in the doorway, one hand still on the handle, the other halfway to his collar like he'd been reaching to loosen his tie. His eyes went from confused to sharp in half a second. "Bria?" She tried to wipe her face with her sleeve, but her arm wouldn't cooperate. Everything felt disconnected. The phone buzzed again in her palm. Another text. She couldn't look at it. River stepped inside and pulled the door halfway closed behind him. Not trapping her, just blocking the view from the hallway. His voice dropped lower, quieter than she'd ever heard it in 2 years of working for him. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, but the movement made her dizzy. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "Stop." He crouched down in front of her, still keeping space between them, like he knew she might bolt if he got too close. His sleeves were rolled to his elbows. There was a pen mark on his left forearm. What happened? The question should have been easy to dodge. She'd dodged harder ones. But the way he asked it, like he actually wanted to know, like he'd wait all day if that's what it took, something in her chest cracked open. "It's my brother," the words came out broken. "Someone took him." "Hey, quick moment before we go on. Where in the world are you watching from? And how's the weather over there today? While you're here, give the video a like and hit subscribe if you're feeling the story so far." River's jaw tightened so fast she heard it. "Who?" "I don't know." She turned the phone toward him with shaking hands. "They want money. 200,000. I don't have it. I don't—" Her voice collapsed into nothing. He didn't grab the phone. He just steadied her hand so he could see the screen, his thumb brushing against her knuckles. Warm. Real. The touch grounded her enough to breathe. "How long ago?" 10 minutes, maybe less." River's eyes scanned the texts, his face going still in a way that scared her more than anger would have. It was the stillness of someone calculating, moves 3 steps ahead while everything around them burned. "You didn't tell anyone else?" She shook her head. "They said if I did—" "They're counting on your panic." His voice was calm, but something underneath it vibrated like a wire pulled too tight. "And your isolation," Bria blinked at him. "What?" He pulled his own phone from his pocket and dialed without hesitation. The sound of the ringtone felt too loud in the small space. "Zev," River said when the call connected. "I need you in my office in 5. Bring the security lead. Quietly." Her mouth fell open. "Mr. Hawthorne, River, you can't—" He ended the call and looked at her like the idea of doing nothing didn't exist in his vocabulary. "You're trying to protect him alone. That's what they want." "I don't want to drag you into—" "You didn't." His voice stayed level, but his eyes burned. "The second I found you like this, it became mine to handle." The sentence landed like oxygen in drowning lungs. Bria stared at him, trying to find the angle, the catch, the part where he'd pull back and remind her she was just an assistant who'd overstepped. But he didn't move, didn't flinch. Her phone buzzed again. River glanced down at the new message. His expression shifted, just barely, like he'd seen something that confirmed a suspicion he didn't want to be right about. "This isn't random," he said quietly, looking back up at her. They knew exactly who to take. What did River see in that message that changed everything? River stood and offered his hand. Bria took it without thinking, let him pull her to her feet. Her legs felt unsteady. He didn't let go right away. "Come with me," he said, already moving toward his desk. "You're not doing this alone." "I can't just—" "You can. I'm telling you to." He gestured to one of the leather chairs across from his desk. "Sit." She sat, not because he told her to, but because her knees gave out. River hit the intercom button. "Margot, hold all my calls. No interruptions." "Yes, Mr. Hawthorne." He looked back at Bria, his expression softening just enough to let her see past the executive mask. "Walk me through everything. Start with this morning." So she did. The unknown number, the photo, the 24-hour deadline, the address they said they'd send. Every word felt like pulling glass out of her throat, but River listened without interrupting, his focus absolute. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he said something that made her chest tighten. "You've been carrying something heavy for a while, haven't you?" Bria's breath hitched. "What?" "I noticed." His voice was careful, like he was admitting something he shouldn't. "The way you take lunch in the stairwell, the way you leave after everyone else. I didn't know why, but I noticed." The confession hit harder than it should have. Someone had been watching, not to judge, to see. Before she could respond, the office door opened. A man in his 40s walked in, lean and sharp-eyed, followed by a woman in a dark suit with a security badge clipped to her belt. Zev in the lead, Bria assumed. River didn't waste time. "Someone took Bria's brother this morning. Ransom demand, 200,000, 24-hour clock." He turned his monitor so they could see the texts. "I need eyes on her apartment, her car, and any surveillance we have from this building's exterior cameras starting at 6 this morning." The security lead, a woman named Tasha, nodded and immediately pulled out a tablet. On it, Zev looked at Bria, then back at River. "You want police involved?" "Not yet," River said. "If they think law enforcement's involved too early, they move the kid or worse. We do this strategically." Bria's hands clenched in her lap. "You really think you can find him?" River met her eyes. "I think whoever did this made a mistake. They assumed you had no one. They were wrong." The weight of that sentence settled over her like a blanket. She wasn't alone anymore. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt like relief. Tasha looked up from her tablet. "Got something. Black SUV followed her car from her apartment complex this morning. Plates registered to a shell company." River's expression sharpened. "Trace it." Already running it, Tasha's fingers moved fast across the screen. Then she stopped. Her face changed. "Boss, it's linked to Larkson Avery." The room went cold. Who is Larkson Avery, and why did that name just freeze River in place? River didn't move, didn't blink, but something in his posture shifted, like every muscle had locked down at once. "Larkson," he repeated, his voice flat. Zev exhaled hard. "You want me to?" "No." River's tone cut through the air. "I'll handle it." Bria looked between them, her pulse spiking. "Who is that?" River was quiet for a beat too long. Then he turned to her, and the look on his face was something she'd never seen before. Not anger. Worse. Betrayal that hadn't finished bleeding. "Larkson Avery used to be my business partner," River said slowly. "He stood next to me at my wife's funeral. He's my son's godfather." His jaw worked. And I cut him out of this company 6 months ago after I found out he was skimming funds and falsifying contracts. Bria's stomach dropped. He threatened you? He said he'd make it personal if I buried him. River's hands curled into fists on the desk. I didn't think he'd go this far. Tasha pulled up another screen. The SUV was parked outside Bria's building for 3 hours before she left for work. They've been watching her. The implication hit like a punch. They didn't take Kai at random. They took him because of her. Because she worked for River. Because she was close enough to matter. Guilt crashed over her in a wave. This is my fault. No, River's voice snapped her attention back. This is mine. I made an enemy, and he's using you to hurt me. That's on me, not you. But my brother, we're getting him back. River stood, his posture shifting into something harder, more controlled. Zev, I need a full workup on Larkson's known associates. Tasha, I want every property tied to his shell companies mapped, and I want it done in the next hour. They both nodded and moved toward the door. But before they left, River added one more thing. And lock down the building, quietly, no alarms. I don't want him knowing we're on to him yet. The door closed behind them. Bria stared at River, trying to process everything. You really think he's behind this? River didn't answer right away. He walked to the window, looking out over the city, his reflection ghosted in the glass. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter. Larkson doesn't do anything halfway. If he wanted money, he'd come at me directly. But this, he turned back to her. This is about leverage. He wants me to trade something. Trade what? River's eyes held hers, dark and certain. He doesn't want money, Bria. He wants something else. What does Larkson really want? And how far will River have to go to stop him? The car ride was silent, except for the hum of the engine and the occasional buzz of River's phone. Bria sat in the passenger seat, watching the city blur past, her mind spinning too fast to catch a single thought. River had insisted she come with him, not back to her apartment, not to a hotel, to his house. You'll be safe there, he'd said, and I need you where I can see you. Now they were pulling through a gate that opened with a quiet beep into a driveway lined with trees that blocked the view from the street. The house was modern, all clean lines and dark wood, with floor-to-ceiling windows that glowed warm against the evening light. River parked and turned off the engine. He looked at her for a moment, like he was about to say something, then just nodded toward the door. Come on. Inside, the house smelled like vanilla and something baking. Bria's chest tightened. It smelled like home used to, before everything fell apart. Dad? A small voice called from somewhere deeper in the house, followed by the sound of running feet. A boy appeared in the hallway, maybe 8 years old, with dark curls and a grin that split his face wide open when he saw River. You're home early? River's whole body softened. He crouched down, and the boy crashed into him, arms wrapping tight around his neck. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I had to grab something. This is Bria. She works with me. The boy, Leo, Bria remembered from the photos on River's desk, looked at her with curious eyes. Hi, Bria managed, her voice steadier than she felt. Are you staying for dinner? Leo asked, already tugging her toward the kitchen. Ms. Carla made mac and cheese, the good kind. River stood, watching them with an expression Bria couldn't quite read. Leo, give her some space. It's okay, Bria said quickly. The kid's energy was grounding in a way she didn't expect. Mac and cheese sounds good. Dinner was strange, normal in a way that felt surreal given everything happening outside this house. Leo talked non-stop about his soccer team and a science project involving volcanoes. River listened with the kind of attention that said he'd heard this story 3 times already, but didn't mind hearing it again. Bria sat quietly, watching them, seeing a version of River she'd never imagined existed. After dinner, Leo asked if Bria wanted to see his drawings. She said yes before River could intervene. They ended up on the floor of Leo's room, surrounded by papers covered in crayon sketches of spaceships and dragons. "This one's my favorite," Leo said, holding up a drawing of a man and a boy standing under a tree. "That's me and Dad. Mom used to be there too, but—" He stopped, his voice going quieter. "She's not here anymore." Bria's throat tightened. "I'm sorry," Leo shrugged, but his hands gripped the paper a little tighter. "Dad says she's watching from somewhere nice. I don't know if that's real, but it makes him feel better, so I don't ask." The honesty of it broke something in Bria's chest. She reached over and ruffled his hair gently. "I think she'd be really proud of you." Leo smiled, small but real. "Are you going to stay tonight?" Before Bria could answer, River appeared in the doorway. "Bedtime, Leo, but now." Leo sighed dramatically but got up, giving Bria a quick hug before climbing into bed. River stayed to tuck him in, his voice low as he said something Bria couldn't hear. When he finally stepped back into the hallway, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, read the message, and his face went stone still. Bria's stomach dropped. "What is it?" River looked up at her, his eyes dark with something close to fear. New ransom instructions just came through. They moved up the timeline. What did the message say, and how much time do they have left? River handed Bria the phone. She read the message twice, her pulse hammering in her ears. "Midnight. Warehouse on East 7th. Bring the girl, alone, or the brother dies screaming." Her hands went numb. "They want me to go alone." "You're not!" River's voice was absolute. "That's not happening. But if I don't, they're bluffing." He took the phone back, already typing something. "This is a power move. Larkson wants to see me panic. He wants me to make a mistake." Bria's voice cracked. "What if he's not bluffing?" River stopped typing. He looked at her, and for the first time since this started, she saw the weight he was carrying. Not just hers, his own. The kind that came from losing someone before and knowing it could happen again. "I won't let him hurt your brother," River said quietly. "But I also won't let him hurt you, so we do this smart." He pulled out his laptop and opened a map marking the warehouse location. Within minutes, Zev and Tasha were on a video call, pulling up satellite images and building layouts. 2 exits, Tasha said. Front loading dock and a side door that leads to an alley. If they're smart, they'll have someone watching both. "Then we don't go in the front," River said. "We go through the roof." Bria blinked. "The roof?" Zev nodded slowly. "There's an access hatch. Old building. Probably hasn't been checked in years." River leaned back, his mind already 3 steps ahead. "We send a decoy to the front. Someone they'll think is Bria from a distance. Meanwhile, we go in from above, locate Kai, and extract before they know we're there." It sounded insane. It also sounded like the only plan that didn't end with her walking into a death trap. "What about the money?" Bria asked. "They'll expect me to bring it." "We bring a bag," River said. "Enough weight to look real. If they check it before we're in position, we're already moving. They won't have time to react." Bria wanted to argue, wanted to say it was too risky, too complicated, too much like a movie. But she'd seen River negotiate hostile takeovers with the same calm he was using now. If anyone could pull this off, it was him. "There's something else," Zev said, his voice tight. "We traced the phone they've been texting from. It pinged near Leo's school this afternoon." The room went silent, River's face drained of color. "When?" "Around dismissal. It was only there for a few minutes, then moved." River stood so fast his chair rolled back. "Get someone to the house, now, full detail. No one gets within 100 feet of my son." Zev was already dialing. On it. Bria's chest squeezed. He would, River's voice was ice. "That's exactly what he'd do." He turned to her, and the look in his eyes was something she'd remember for the rest of her life. Not anger, not fear, something colder and more certain. "Larkson thinks he knows my limits. He's about to find out he was wrong." River's phone buzzed again. He glanced down, and his jaw tightened. "What?" Bria asked, her voice barely a whisper. River turned the screen toward her. A new message. No words, just a photo. Kai, still tied, but this time there was a countdown timer in the corner of the image. Less than 4 hours. Can they reach Kai before the clock runs out? Or is Larkson already 10 steps ahead? The headlights cut through the dark as River's SUV pulled into an empty lot 3 blocks from the warehouse. Bria's hands hadn't stopped shaking since they left the house. The countdown on her phone read, 2 hours and 14 minutes. River killed the engine. "You stay in the vehicle until I give the signal." "No." Her voice came out stronger than she expected. "It's my brother. I'm not sitting here while you go in." He turned to look at her, his jaw set. "Bria, I won't sit helpless." She met his eyes, refusing to back down. "If something goes wrong, I need to be there. You'd do the same for Leo." That hit him. She saw it land. His expression shifted, something like respect mixing with the fear he was trying to hide. "Fine," he said after a long pause. "But you stay close. You follow my lead. No arguments." She nodded. Zev's voice came through the earpiece River handed her. "Teams in position. Decoys moving to the front entrance in 5. River checked his watch, then looked back at Bria. "Remember, we go in quiet. We find Kai, we get out. If anything feels wrong, you run. You don't wait for me. You run." "I'm not leaving you either." His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Stubborn." Learned from the best. They moved through the shadows, keeping low, following the path Tasha had mapped out earlier. The warehouse loomed ahead, a rusted skeleton of metal and broken windows. No lights, no movement, too quiet. River's phone buzzed. He glanced down and his whole body went rigid. Bria's stomach dropped. "What?" He turned the screen toward her. A voice note from Kai's number. River hit play. Kai's voice came through, shaky and terrified. "Bria, don't come. It's a trap. They're not after the money. They want—" A hand slapped over his mouth. Muffled sounds. Then a different voice, smooth and cold. "Hello, River. Hoping to see you tonight. Bring the girl, or I'll make sure you bury another person you care about." The recording ended. Bria's breath came too fast. "He knows you're here." River's face was stone. "He's been watching the whole time." Zev's voice crackled in the earpiece. "Boss, we've got a problem. Warehouse is empty. No heat signatures, no movement." River's hand curled into a fist. "It's a decoy location." "Then where—" Another text came through. A new address. Bria recognized it immediately. Her chest seized. "That's my apartment," she whispered. River was already moving, pulling her back toward the SUV. "Zev, redirect everyone, now." They ran. Why would Larkson move Kai to Bria's apartment? And what's waiting for them there? The apartment building looked the same as it always did. Same chipped paint on the front steps, same flickering light in the hallway. But when River pushed open the door to Bria's unit, everything felt wrong. The lock had been forced. The door hung crooked on its hinges. River held up a hand, signaling her to wait. He stepped inside first, moving like someone who'd done this before. Bria followed, her heart slamming against her ribs. The living room was empty, so was the kitchen, but on the coffee table, right in the center, was Bria's laptop. Open. A video paused on the screen. River moved closer, his hand hovering over the trackpad. Don't touch anything. But Bria was already reaching for it. The second she tapped the spacebar, the video started. Kai's face filled the screen. He was sitting in a chair, hands still tied, but he was alone this frame, no one holding him, no hand over his mouth. He looked directly at the camera. Bria, if you're watching this, don't believe them. They don't have me anymore. I got out. I'm safe. But you need to... The video cut off. Bria stared at the screen, her mind refusing to process what she'd just seen. He got out? River's face was unreadable. Or they want you to think he did. Why would they? To split your focus. River's voice was tight. To make you drop your guard. Zev's voice came through the earpiece again, urgent this time. Boss, we've got movement at your residence. Someone just triggered the perimeter alarm. River went white. Leo. Bria's blood turned to ice. Oh God. River was already running, pulling Bria with him. They hit the stairs at full speed, taking them two at a time. The SUV's engine roared to life the second they were inside. River's phone rang. He answered on speaker. Mr. Hawthorne. A woman's voice. The nanny. I'm so sorry. I only looked away for a second. He said he was Leo's uncle. He had a photo. I thought, where's my son? River's voice was ice and fire at the same time. He took him. I tried to stop him, but... River ended the call. His hands gripped the wheel so tight his knuckles went white. For the first time since this started, Bria saw him break. Just for a second. His breath hitched. His jaw trembled. Then he sucked in air and locked it all back down. He's not getting away with this, River said, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. He's not taking my son. Bria reached over and grabbed his hand, squeezing hard. We're getting them both back, tonight. River looked at her, and something passed between them. Not just trust, not just desperation, something deeper. You're right, he said. We are. His phone buzzed one more time. Another message. This one was a video call request. River accepted it. Larkson's face filled the screen. Older than the photos Bria had seen, with graying hair and a smile that made her skin crawl. Behind him, barely visible, was a car seat. And in it, Leo. Hello, old friend, Larkson said, his voice dripping with false warmth. I believe we have some things to discuss. What does Larkson want? And how far will River go to get his son back alive? Larkson's smile widened on the screen. You're probably wondering why I went through all this trouble. River's voice was deadly calm. Let him go. In a moment. First, I want you to understand something. Larkson leaned closer to the camera. You took everything from me, my reputation, my company, my future, so now I'm going to take something from you. This isn't about business, River said. This is about you being a coward. Larkson's smile didn't falter. Call it what you want. I call it justice. In the background, Leo started crying. Soft at first, then louder. Bria's chest caved in. River's hand tightened on the wheel until she thought he might snap it in half. Where are you? River's voice cracked, just barely. Somewhere you'll never find me in time. Larkson glanced over his shoulder at Leo, then back at the camera. Unless you give me what I want. Name it. You, in exchange for both of them, the brother and the boy. Larkson's eyes glittered. You come alone, no security, no police. You get 1 hour to say goodbye to your son. Then you disappear. Forever. River's face went blank. And if I don't? Then I make sure you live long enough to bury them both. The call ended. The silence in the SUV was suffocating. River stared at the dark screen, his chest rising and falling too fast. Bria watched him, saw the exact moment he started calculating how to do it, how to trade himself. No, she said. He didn't look at her. It's the only way. It's not. She grabbed his arm, forcing him to meet her eyes. You think he'll let them go even if you show up? He's not going to stop. He wants you dead and them traumatized. That's the plan. Then what do you suggest? His voice broke on the last word. Bria's mind raced. Then something clicked. Your security lead, Tasha. She said Larkson's shell companies were tied to old properties, right? Yeah. So? So he's not moving them far. He can't. He needs to stay close enough to control everything. She pulled out her phone, opening the map Tasha had sent earlier. Look, 3 properties within 10 miles. One's a storage facility, one's an old office building, and one is a private airstrip, River finished, his eyes sharpening. He's planning to fly them out, Zev's voice crackled through the earpiece. Boss, we just got a hit on Larkson's credit card. Fuel charge at a private airfield, northeast side. River's foot slammed on the gas. The SUV lurched forward. Call everyone, River said. I want every person we have converging on that location, now. On it. Bria's phone buzzed. She glanced down and her heart stopped. A text. From Kai's number. Bria. It's me. I got away. I'm hiding near some planes. I can see them. Please hurry. She showed River. His jaw clenched. He's alive, Bria whispered. He's still there. River nodded once, his focus absolute. Then we go in fast. We hit them before they know we're coming. The airfield appeared on the horizon, a dark stretch of runway lit by a single floodlight near a hangar. River cut the headlights and pulled off the main road, parking behind a line of trees. Stay behind me, he said. This time Bria didn't argue. They moved through the dark, low and fast. The hangar door was open, light spilling out. Inside, Bria could see a small plane, and next to it, 2 figures, one tall, one small, Larkson and Leo. River's hand went to his pocket, pulling out something Bria hadn't seen before. A small radio. He clicked it twice. 2 clicks came back. Zev and the team were in position. River looked at Bria one last time. When I move, you run for Kai. You don't stop. You don't look back. What about you? His eyes held hers. I'm getting my son. He moved. Everything happened at once. River sprinted toward the hangar. Larkson spun, reaching for something at his waist. Leo screamed. Zev's team came from 3 directions, flashlights cutting through the dark. Bria ran the opposite way, toward the stack of crates where Kai said he was hiding. She found him crouched behind a fuel drum, his hands still zip-tied, his face pale but alive. Bria! She grabbed him, pulling him close, her hands shaking as she worked the zip ties loose with a pair of scissors from her pocket. I've got you. You're okay. You're okay. A gunshot cracked through the air. Bria's head snapped up. Zev's voice screamed through the earpiece. River's hit. River's down. Is River alive? And can they stop Larkson before he escapes with Leo? Bria's ears rang. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. River's down. The words looped in her head, refusing to make sense. Kai grabbed her arm. Bria, we have to go. She shook her head, her eyes locked on the hangar. Smoke, shouting, shadows moving fast. I have to. Bria, Kai's voice cracked. Please. She forced herself to look at him, 16 years old, terrified. Still her responsibility. She grabbed his hand and ran. They made it halfway to the tree line when Tasha appeared, gun drawn, her face hard. Get him to the vehicle, now! Bria didn't argue. She shoved Kai toward the SUV and turned back. River! Go! But Bria couldn't. Her feet wouldn't move. She watched Tasha disappear into the chaos, watched Zev tackle someone to the ground, watched. A hand grabbed her shoulder. She spun, heart in her throat. River. Blood soaking through his shirt, face pale, but alive, standing. You're. Her voice broke. Grazed, he said through gritted teeth. Where's Leo? I don't know. I didn't see. A scream cut through the night, small, terrified. Leo. River's head snapped toward the sound. He took off running, one hand pressed to his side, the other reaching for something Bria couldn't see. She followed. They found Larkson near the plane, one arm wrapped around Leo, the other holding a gun to the boy's head. His eyes were wild, desperate. Stay back, Larkson shouted. I swear I'll do it. River stopped, hands raised. His voice dropped low, steady. Larkson, look at me. No, you don't get to talk. You don't get to. Look at me. Larkson's eyes snapped to River. For a second, the gun wavered. You were my friend, River said quietly. I trusted you, and you betrayed that. But this? He nodded toward Leo, who was crying silently, his small body shaking. This isn't you. You don't hurt kids. You're not that person. You made me this person, Larkson's voice cracked. You took everything from me. I took what you stole. River's voice stayed calm, but his eyes burned. And if you hurt my son, you won't live long enough to regret it. The words hung in the air. Larkson's hand shook. The gun trembled against Leo's temple. Bria didn't think. She moved. She grabbed a wrench from the ground and threw it as hard as she could. It hit Larkson's shoulder, not hard enough to hurt, just enough to distract. Larkson flinched. His grip loosened. River lunged. He hit Larkson like a freight train, knocking the gun from his hand, pulling Leo free in one motion. Zev and two others were on Larkson in seconds, slamming him to the ground, cuffing his hands behind his back. River dropped to his knees, pulling Leo into his arms, holding him so tight the boy could barely breathe. I've got you, River whispered, his voice breaking. I've got you. You're safe. Leo sobbed into his father's shoulder, small hands clutching his shirt. Bria stood frozen, watching them, her own tears spilling over. Kai appeared beside her, breathing hard. Is it over? She nodded, unable to speak. Police sirens wailed in the distance. They saved Leo and Kai, but can River and Bria find their way back from the edge of everything they almost lost? The hospital room smelled like disinfectant and bad coffee. River sat on the edge of the bed, a bandage wrapped around his ribs, his face pale but alert. Leo was curled up next to him, refusing to let go. Bria stood by the window, watching the sun rise over the city. Kai was asleep in the chair beside her, his head tipped back, breathing slow and steady. Safe. River's voice broke the silence. You didn't have to throw that wrench. She turned to look at him. Yeah, I did. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. Thank you. For what? For saving my son. His eyes held hers. For being braver than you had any right to be. Bria's throat tightened. You saved Kai first. No. River's voice was quiet, but certain. You saved him the second you refused to do this alone. The weight of the past 48 hours settled over her. Everything they'd survived, everything they'd almost lost. and somehow, impossibly, they were still standing. Leo stirred, lifting his head just enough to look at Bria. "Are you leaving?" Her heart cracked. She's not," River said, before she could finish. He looked at her, something raw and unguarded in his expression. "Not if she doesn't want to." Bria stared at him. "River." "You saved my son," he said again. "There's no world where I let you walk away after that. You're not just anything." His voice was firm. "You're the reason Leo is alive. You're the reason I didn't fall apart when I thought I'd lost everything. He stopped, searching for the right words. "You're more than I deserve. But if you'll stay, I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth that choice." The hospital room went silent. Bria's breath caught. She looked at River, at Leo, at the life she'd stumbled into and almost died trying to save. And for the first time in years, she didn't feel alone. "Okay," she whispered. Leo's face lit up. "Really?" She nodded, tears slipping free. "Really?" River stood slowly, wincing at the movement, and crossed the room. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Will you come home with us?" he asked quietly. "For real this time?" Bria looked up at him, at the man who'd gone to war for her brother without hesitation, who'd held his son like the world might take him away at any second, who'd looked at her like she mattered. "Yeah," she said, "I will. If this story moved you, if it made you believe in second chances and the kind of love that shows up when it matters most, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. And drop a comment below. Tell us what grabbed you. Tell us what made you feel. Your words inspire others, and we need that light. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember, sometimes the people who save you are the ones you never saw coming.